আমাদের ফেসবুকে দেখানো আছে এখন লাইভ যায়নি খালি হলো
मैंने स्क्रीनशॉट
उन्हीं को तो
फेसबुक का पैटर्न लाइक সেখানে হ্যান্ডেল
जस्ट हैंडल
না জানছো
सर क्या लिखो गुड मॉर्निंग देखो ना मैम
না আমি তো জাস্ট দীপঙ্কর স্যার রেখে কথা বলবো
কি বলছো স্কুল থেকে তো বলে দিলাম লিস্ট করে
পেয়ালা বলতে
তুমি সব বলছো তো দিদি আমার ফোনটা না তোমার দরকার নেই দিদি আমার ফোন থেকে লগ আউট করো এটা দরকার নেই তুমি এটা ফোনটা রেখো কল আসবে
Oh yes.
अच्छा I'm going to keep my camera on so I don't want people dancing behind me
এখানেই বলবে নাকি
কোথায় পাঠাচ্ছ আমাকে
ওইখানে
কোন
সুন্দর জায়গা
জায়গায়
ওই যে ফুল মাইন্ড আপ ইউজ করো
ও তোমরা এখানে কি
এখানে
ডান্স ডান্স করছো কি করছো আরে এখান থেকে তোমাদের কোঅর্ডিনেশন করতে সুবিধা হবে
দেখেছো আমাকে লিখে দিচ্ছে কমেন্টে সবাই আমার কাজটা একটু
আমরা
আচ্ছা সবাইকে বলছি নিজের নিজের যারা যারা ফোন করতে হবে না নিজের লগইনটা দেখে দেখে করবে হ্যাঁ
বসো বসো তুমি বসো এগুলো অন আছে অভিষেক এটা একটু দেখো তুমি হ্যাঁ এটা অন রেখো
ইউটিউবটা অন করে
দিদি এখানে এসো তুমি দেখার জন্য কি কারা কারা জয়েন করেছে কারা কারা জয়েন করেনি তুমি দেখেছো হ্যাঁ পিপলটা দেখে দেখে তুমি করবে বুঝতে পারছো তো বিনয় জাজু লেফট
ওকে জয়েন এখন যাচ্ছে
এটা কে মেসেজ করেছে আচ্ছা তোমরা
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ওটাকে পিন করো
হাউ টু
পিন
শোনা যাচ্ছে
কোনটা কাকে পিন করছো মেসেজ কে
মেসেজটা
দরকার নেই দরকার নেই ওটা এই পুরোটা পিন না করে শুধু ইউটিউব লাইভ আর ফেসবুক লাইভের পিন করে দাও না
আলাদা করে মেসেজ করো
হ্যাঁ ওটা তারপরে পিন করো
আচ্ছা দীপালি প্রিন্সিপাল রাজেন্দ্র
অভিষেক দা ওটা তুমি লেখো ফেসবুক লাইভ উই আর অলসো লাইভ অন ফেসবুক এন্ড ইউটিউব প্লিজ ফাইন্ড দ্য মেসেজ গুলো আর ওটা তারপরে তুমি পিন করো
পোস্ট
হ্যাঁ পিয়ালাকে দিয়ে দাও
হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে পাঠিয়ে দাও
তুমি আমাদের টিমকে কেন আবার দেখে দেখে বলছো record session go live presentation ready
ওদের ব্যানার
গার্গিদি তুমি ওখানে তোমার স্পিকার লিস্টটা খুলে রেখো কারা কারা জয়েন করছে করছে না ওখানে তুমি লিখতে থাকো সবিতা সিং এনি তো ঘুমিয়ে পড়েছে
শুয়েছে অডিও ভিডিও অফ করা যায়
বাচ্চারাও তো জয়েন করেছে
হ্যাঁ
স্ক্রিনটা দেখা যাচ্ছে? কারা কারা জয়েন করছে গার্গিজি, তুমি ওটা দেখছো। আমাকে একটা পেন্সিল পেন কেউ দাও। এই ঝামেলা কাজ প্রিয়াঙ্কা চক্রবর্তী, ওটা সুরজিদার নাকি? সরিয়ে দাও ওটা। হ্যাঁ, সুরজিদার। দি তুমি বসো, কেন দাঁড়িয়ে আছো? চা ফা মিষ্টি মিষ্টি কেউ খাওয়াবে নাকি?
তোদের মেসেজটা পাঠিয়ে দিচ্ছি তাহলে ডিপার্টমেন্ট আছে
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, করে দাও। ওরা জয়েন করেনি তো এখন পর্যন্ত? লিখে দাও। একটা জেনারিক রেকর্ড, গুড মর্নিং, বেঙ্গল ক্লিন এয়ার ই লঞ্চ ইজ রানিং অ্যাজ পার শিডিউল। স্যার জয়েন করেছে। দিদি আমাকে দেখাও।
আচ্ছা, যা আসবে সব অ্যাকসেপ্ট করে নেবো।
এটা
হ্যাঁ, আমার ফোনটা।
এটা
ও, আমার ফোনটা দাও। এটা কি হলো? সবাই মিউট রাখো ভাই। তোমার ফোন থেকে, তোমার থেকে আসলো নাকি? তোমার ফোনটাও, তোমার ল্যাপটপও মিউট আছে তো?
আমি নিজেই মিউট হয়ে গেছি।
বেঙ্গল ক্যান কে ফুলে করো, আর লিঙ্কটা দিয়েছো। হ্যাঁ,
এটা আছে।
হুম।
লিঙ্কটা কি করে দেখবি? মনে হচ্ছে কোনো আসছে না।
गुड मॉर्निंग सर। सर आई होप आपका सेटअप और उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो रही है टू ज्वाइन। श्योर श्योर सर, ओके सर, थैंक यू सो मच सर, बाय सर, वी रेडी टू स्टार्ट एज सून एज यू। हाँ जी सर। सर मोस्टली schools, colleges, principals are there, some students have also joined, there will be some NGOs, NGO heads also in the next to service curriculum, and some experts in the environment sector. Yes. Okay, thank you sir. Take care. Thank you sir.
The limit কত আছে না? লিমিট কত আছে?
লিমিট মানে
মানে জয়েন করার জন্য
কতজন আছে?
60
250। তুমি মেসেজটা করেছো? ওটা ওটা ওই ট্যাগ করে দিয়েছো? ওটা করেছো? ইয়ালা
হ্যাঁ, পিন হচ্ছে না।
পিন হচ্ছে না? থাক। এটা কি হচ্ছে? এখান থেকে হচ্ছে। এটা মিউট। অভিষেকদার এগুলো মিউট করো। বাবা,
আমার
এটা তো
আমার টাইম লাগে না, অ্যাডমিট করে ওখানে মিউট করতে টাইম লাগে, ওই জন্য যে দিন
ये कहाँ से आवाज आ रही है? এটা you have to carry on for at least maybe a little more than 5 minutes because ECS sir is going to take a few extra minutes to try. Okay. After you finish, you give it over to me and I will have a look. Bus, that's all. No more than that. You start exactly at 11. Exactly. No, no, you start. You start. शुरू करो.
আমার মিউট আছে ওই জায়গায় join.
Good morning, everyone, and very warm welcome to the launch of Bengal-CAN.
Everyone mute your phones. Come here, I'll show you how to do that.
I'd also like to take this opportunity to share with you where we come from, why what we are doing at the moment is essential. So, like for us at the John Foundation has actually now come to a full circle. We had initiated the John Foundation way back in 2008 with a very strong focus on climate action and creating environment awareness amongst people. Uh, we had done a lot of work in talking about climate change, raising awareness about that with young people. Vinay and a colleague from Kolkata, traveling through communities, understanding the environmental impact that we can see in the country, and trying to find solutions, grassroots solutions to the problems we face with environment and sustainability. We were one of the first ones to start promoting cycling in Kolkata, and with that passion for love, Kolkata Cycling Club was formed in 2009. Apart from that, the John Foundation has done work in multiple spheres in setting up of multiple social enterprises with strong focus on sustainability, in equity, in various sectors, including clean energy, agriculture, and skilling. So we had set up Energy Solar in 2010. Organic foods was set up in 2015, and On Skills was set up in 2016. We also continue to promote farm producer companies across West Bengal and eastern part of the country with the idea to empower farmers and support them to connect with markets collectively. During the cyclone that the West Bengal experienced, a new initiative was born. Rebuild Bengal was born with the idea to see how can we empower rural communities to again rebuild themselves with sustainability, both financial sustainability, community level sustainability as a focus. When we talk about clean air, what we are able to see now is as a country, as a society, we're actually facing a very alarming situation globally. While a lot of our focus had been towards development in the last couple of decades, we are now able to realize that we've had to pay a very strong environmental cost for that development. Uh, Air quality indexes across major cities globally has reached an alarming state, and it's very important that we take a very strong action about it. Kolkata again, who has not been spoken about in the media as much as Delhi, as much focus for clean air in the past. But we've started to see that this in Kolkata has become extremely alarming. This is having a significantly negative impact on our health, especially the health of the
লিখটাকে মিউট কেন করে দিয়েছো? Someone call Ekta. Call Ekta. Ekta, you're mute. You've gotten on mute. Ekta, you've gotten on mute. Can you unmute yourself, please? I'll step in. নমস্কার, আমার নাম বিনয় জাজু। While Ekta is on mute, আমি একটু Ekta, you're on mute. নিজেকে unmute করো please. Can you unmute yourself please?
Oh, sorry, when I didn't realize I was on mute.
You just went on mute for the last 1 minute or so.
Oh, sorry. Until when you able to hear me, if you can share.
That's okay. You can pick up from wherever you do.
Okay, so I'll start with Kolkata and the alarming rate of pollution that we've witnessed in the last recently. So while Delhi has been a very strong focus of alarming air quality index and the poor air quality, and Kolkata has not really received as much media attention. But the state of air quality in Kolkata is significantly alarming. And with that as a focus, Kolkata Clean Air was set up a few years back, and it has taken up multiple initiatives, starting from understanding the root cause of this problem to proactively finding solutions and creating awareness on how we can tackle it as citizens. In Kolkata, what we've also realized that there are other metro cities within West Bengal. There are 7 other cities actually that are non-attainment cities under the NCAP, and one of the most polluted cities in the country. So while we have focused on Kolkata and done a lot of action, I think now it's really important that a state-wise network is formed, and we're able to collectively take action to resolve this problem. Air quality index, poor air quality index can have terrible impacts on health, especially on the vulnerable population, children, the elderly, and it is very important that this is brought under key focus, and we are able to identify causes and problems so that we're all able to breathe clean air. So, like they say, for clean air and blue skies, I really wish Bengal-CAN a lot of success, and I'm very hopeful that this group of community that's come together to proactively tackle this issue will be able to have some very positive results in this space. So over to Vinay. Hope you can take the proceedings forward.
Thank you very much, Ekta. It's now my absolute honor to invite Sunil Kumar Gupta sir. I've known Sunil sir for not very long, about a year or so, and I found him to be the most kindest soul, very humble for the position and the kind of responsibility he has for the state of West Bengal. Continues to inspire us always. Sir, it's an absolute honor to have you inaugurate this event as we set up বেঙ্গল ক্লিন এয়ার নেটওয়ার্ক বেঙ্গল-CAN। আমি স্যার আপনাকে একটু অনুরোধ করব যদি আপনি একটু কিছু কথা দিয়ে আমাদের এই প্রোগ্রামটা ইনঅগ্রেট করতে পারেন। থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ।
Thank you very much, Vinay. I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank both Vinay and Ekta for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful initiative which is being launched today, which is called the Clean Air Network Program. Uh, I think Ekta ji has set the ball rolling in the right direction about the need, the necessity, and the requirement of clean air. Today's inaugural program will see a galaxy of distinguished experts. I can see Dr. Kalyan Rudra on the screen. I'm sure there are many others of his high stature who will be joining today's program and become a part of this initiative. Uh, just a few words from my side. I think one of the best gifts of God which we have got on this earth, clean air and clean water. This is perhaps something we don't realize till we start lacking in those things. I feel this is a gift which has been given only to people on this planet. Probably if we had our civilization on some other planet like maybe Mars or Moon, we would not have been blessed with this. So we are really a series or a community of blessed souls. And I think we have a solemn responsibility to pass on whatever we have got from God or whosoever is above us to the next generation. I think we owe it to them. Let us pass on the same quality, if not a better quality of air and water to the next generation, which we got when we were born. I think that is incumbent upon all of us. As Ekta has rightly pointed out, clean air and clean water, especially clean air, is an essential prerequisite for good health. I am not an expert, but in the last few months, we have all gone through this pandemic and seen the effects of lockdown. While I'm sure all of us would have been looking at the ill effects, the bad effects of what has happened to all of us in terms of our physique, our mental health, our eating habits, our socializing habits. Everything in life has changed, and probably for the worse during the last few months, during the lockdown period. I would still request everyone in this group to look at the positive side of it. I think from an environmentalist point of view, this is sheer heaven. We didn't have many vehicles on the roads. We had almost all the industrial activities coming to a grinding halt. I'm sure experts will point out that the air quality index that we have experienced in the last few months is probably something which is made of dream, something a dream that we had for the last couple of decades, if not a couple of years. And this is something which is absolutely astounding. You go out in the morning, you get up in the morning, you can feel the chill and the nip in the air. You can feel and you can see the birds chirping outside. In my own bird feeder, I have seen many house sparrows, and they are now coming in dozens, coming for the morning feed. This is something which I thought was unthinkable. We had almost given up on these house sparrows, which were part of our household, even 2 or 3 decades back. But now with the lockdown, I see more varieties of butterflies, more varieties of pigeons, more varieties of birds chirping all around in the morning. This is absolutely mind-boggling. We have seen pictures of people living in Tarai regions like Saharanpur and Chandigarh, having a glimpse of the mountains, which probably they had never seen in their lives from their houses in the last 25 years. The air is so good, it's so clean. We can see the stars clearly in the night. This is something really fantastic. I think we owe it to the lockdown to give us, which has given us a better air quality. Probably something we realize, this is probably something we realize when we go out of India. When you go to a developed country like USA or any of the Western European countries, you can immediately feel the quality of air has improved. Once you come out of the airport, you can see it clearly. When I was in Harvard University and we used to walk down to the Kennedy School of Government every day morning over the Charles River, see the trees, the greenery, everywhere, all around you. This is something which we miss in India, but I'm sure we'll not be missing it for long. With the effort of all the people in this group, we will be able to reach a much more comfortable position. Air quality is something that we are struggling in India for a long time now. Experience, I can say I may be wrong in today's context, but about 25 years back, when I went to New York, the State University of New York, to do my master's in environmental engineering for 2 years, they made me do a lot of courses. They were on all kinds of subjects. but mostly related to water, soil, and other things. After about 1 year, I went to my course director and said, "Where is my course on air pollution?" He said, "Boy, forget about it. We have solved the problem long time back. We are so comfortable. We don't even teach air pollution in most of the universities. This is way back in 90s. And here in India, we are stuck in a situation where for us, air pollution is a genuine problem. Most of us in the coming months will be looking at the air quality index before deciding whether we should go
তুমি
out
পিন
for a
করো
morning
নাকি
walk or not.
সুনীল গুপ্তাকে পিন
AQI
করো
monitoring is a very important activity,
if I pin
and
it will only
I
pin
can
for
tell you
my
the
screen
West Bengal Pollution Control Board is doing a fantastic job of it. But this is a problem which is not going to go away. I was part of a presentation made by a World Bank study about a year back, again by West Bengal Pollution Control Board and the Department of Environment. And I was quite surprised to know that this study said that one of the major causes of air pollution in India is in West Bengal and in Calcutta in particular is not exactly vehicular pollution or industrial pollution. This has got something beyond it. Probably the pollution which is coming out of households, probably pollution which is coming out of eateries and other people who are smoking coal-based smoke is something which we should worry about. This was an eye-opener for me. I didn't know this is possible. If you look at the media reports of a couple of days back, another fantastic study has pointed out that the lockdown has improved many criterias, but in some of the places, the ratio of RPM 2.5 and RPM 10 is something which is still worrying and which makes us think whether it is the agricultural field. I am now in agriculture department. Whether it is agricultural fields who are probably contributing a lot of amount to the gases going into the environment and probably responsible for air pollution. I don't know. These are all things that I think as a group of individuals, as a community, we should all sit up, think, and do something about it. I'm sure all of us in this group are keenly aware, and I'm sure we'll hear from the experts today as to how air quality condition can be improved further. I personally feel that this is a problem of commons, and like any other problem of commons, we have to not only go in for community awareness, community mobilization, but each one of us as individuals has to take that small baby steps to make the air quality condition better. If you go out on the roadside and you see someone burning leaves, you do stop and you ask him not to do it. Small things, small gestures, tiny steps from each of us will probably join together and make this movement, which is being launched today called the Bengal Clean Air Network, stronger and bring a better quality of air life to all the citizens of Kolkata and West Bengal. I wish the organizers of this program and all the participants of today's program success in the noble initiative. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for your inspiring words. আপনি খুব সুন্দর করে বললেন কিভাবে আমাদের through while লকডাউনের মধ্যে environment the positive impact, of course we know about the negative impact, but you've seen the positive out of what happened. And I'm grateful to you for taking out the time and also for giving us thoughts on what as citizens we can do. Oftentimes we just depend on others to take action for us, but it is in our hands. Amra amader habit change kore we can hope for cleaner air. Thank you so much. And with that, sir, I would like to invite Dr. Kalyan Rudro, Chairman of West Bengal Pollution Control Board. So thank you so much for coming and taking our time for this program. You've been very kind in coming and attending some of our programs in the past also. And Sir Sunil sir has already mentioned that West Bengal Pollution Control Board has been at it for a very long time to ensure West Bengal is pollution free, and we're really looking forward to hear from you on situation of air pollution, and especially taking forward what Sunil sir said ki amra আমাদের অ্যাডভাইসটা কি থাকবে স্যার? আমরা we entering winter months, আপনি কি অ্যাডভাইস দেবেন আমাদের কি how do we prevent and how do we protect ourselves from air pollution, which is especially winter. In the winter, it's a big phenomenon. It's something to be careful about. So the state of the air pollution in the state, and আপনি কি advice দেবেন sir?
Good morning, Namaskar. Mr. Sunil Gupta has made the path and made my task easier. Yes, when I was a child, I liked the winter in Kolkata. My father had been a government servant and he had been transferred from North Bengal to South Bengal everywhere. But since I joined West Bengal Pollution Control Board and dealing with the air quality data, I wait the winter to go away. Really, it is a deep anxiety for me because it is largely meteorologically covered. From November onwards, particularly from Diwali nights onwards, the air quality, particularly air quality index, is alarmingly bad, not only in Kolkata but almost from Siliguri down to Diamond Harbour. So the air quality, the bad one, air quality continues till March, and since April onwards, when temperature goes up, the particulate goes up, and from June we get a relief because of the onset of the southwest monsoon. So here during the winter we are really much stressed. You must know that we assigned a project to Delhi to find the source approximate study of the Kolkata, and it says that we have two problems. One is PM10, other is PM2.5. All other particulates, we are fortunately till then within permissible limit. But this PM10 and PM2.5 is so alarmingly high that air quality index in this city becomes a matter of anxiety for us. This study, yes, I fully agree with Mr. Gupta. This study, it was also an eye-opener for me. I had also an understanding before I joined pollution control. Not this transport sector is the main polluter. But the study says no. There are some other major sources, like as he has mentioned, the roadside eateries using the solid fuel or fossil fuel. Second is the resuspension of the dust from construction sector, from the wheel of the vehicle, and this says that 57%
দীপাঞ্জন মজুমদার জয়েন করেছে
PM10 of Kolkata is the dust. So these major cities may be called not exactly the dusty city. And PM2.5, it is suppressed 28% coming out of the dust. And contribution from household, from roadside eateries, from resuspension of the dust, from construction sectors and many other sectors. So what we did, apart from taking many regulatory actions against the industries, we also looked into it since last winter. And I will just briefly say what we have done so far. Last winter, along with my colleague, Mr. Rajesh Kumar, we decided the splitting of the roads not only in Kolkata but other non-adequate cities. And the result was remarkable. Believe me, our database will show, if you go to our website www.gov.in, last winter, particularly December and January, we had been compliant with the national and air quality guideline. And this is historically for the first time we have been able to control the dust, that is PM10 and PM2.5. You know, after the Amphan, Kolkata lost about 50,000 trees. The forest department, along with KMC, started in Kolkata, West Bengal government joined it. We took the responsibility of solid lake, Nabodiganto. I talked with Mr. Devashish, I talked with Honorable Forest Minister. We took the responsibility of solid lake and PIP road. And I'm happy to announce here that we have so far planted about 17,000 trees. This responsibility we took. The crop burning has become a major issue. The crop residue burning. It initially started from Haryana and Punjab. Now it is regular practice in Delhi, Bardhaman, and many other adjoining districts. Since Kolkata or South Bengal has a complete reversal of wind direction, that is southerly wind from during summer and northerly wind during the winter, that crop residue comes into the city. What we did, I collaborated with IIT Delhi, and we have already set up a GIS map where from we are regularly monitoring the crop residue burning from our lab and keep in touch with the district administration to take the actions. And Mr. Professor Shakni of IIT Delhi, he has been monitoring, he has been collaborating with us, and he is the key person behind the screen. And we have research scholar here in Kolkata. Regarding the other non-attainment cities, we have signed a MOU with IIT Delhi. The 7 cities have been identified. These cities are, apart from Kolkata, Howrah, Barakpur, Haldia, Raniganj, Asansol, Durgapur. We have assigned for the source assessment and capacity building study to IIT Delhi and also ISAR Bhopal. And 2 cities, Barakpur and Haldia, will be taken care by the DE. What we are doing again, we have problem of transboundary pollution. That is, since we are at the tail end of the Indo-Gangetic plain, the northerly wind carries dust from Jharkhand, UP, Bihar into this state, and that we can't control within the territorial boundary of Kolkata. This is a serious issue we need to deal with. The methane emission from rice mill and also many downside has also become a serious challenge. What we are doing, we have, apart from capping the old downside of Kolkata, you have seen it has become a green hill, the old downside, Dhapa downside. The other downside, active downside of Dhapa, Prabodhnagar, that is on near the Kirsa, Ullarveri are being biomined. This is according to order of the Honorable Big Tribunal. We are biomining and we shall entirely recycle the waste. There are several such legacy dump sites in this city which will all be biomined. And this is a program of the city. And we are motivating all the roadside eateries using the solid waste to switch over to cleaner oil. This is a program of the West Bengal Pollution Control Board. We have so far related the gas-based oven to about 4,000 eateries in Kolkata, Howrah, Salt Lake, and other non-endemic cities. This is our ongoing program. This year, we have floated another tender for the sprinkling of the not only in Kolkata but in all non-endemic cities. This we will start from November onwards. You must have seen the e-buses have been introduced in Kolkata. The first experiment we made in collaboration with Transport Department is the old methane operated buses in Asansol and Durgapur. That had been successful. We are expecting that CNG will reach Kolkata at least with some limited capacity by the end of this year. If it really reaches, that will be a landmark in the history of Kolkata. The one other issue is the expansion of the our monitoring network. We have continuous monitoring stations in Kolkata at about 7 locations. In it, all over the state, we are going to install 58 such stations, at least 2 in each district by the end of this financial year. And we have already collaborating with, I have talked with different Vice Chancellor and Principal of the college to provide me the space, and we shall have a display so that we can know what kind of air they are breathing. So these are the actions we are taking care. And I believe if you come forward, if every citizen participate, I also see some of my dear students here in this week. If students and the audience. We have a network with the 6,000 schools, and we are expanding that what we call National Clean Board program. And we try to motivate the students to take part in this movement. And this is, I understand, one pollution control board, one West Bengal government can't do anything until and unless each and every student comes forward. That is the beauty of it, and that is the motivation, and that we will do. I hope you will. Again, at the end, I will congratulate the organizers for organizing such a nice program. I believe this will motivate my students and co-students, and we will find a different kind of winter knocking at our doorstep, which will be largely pollution-free compared to the other winters what we have seen earlier. Thank you all for your patience here.
So thank you so much, Onek Dhonnobad, for all the proactive steps that West Bengal Pollution Control Board is taking. And all of us, on behalf of all the schools and colleges that are here and also who are not here, we would love to partner with and work under you to ensure West Bengal has clean air for all of us to breathe. Thank you so much once again. I would now like to request Dr. Dipanjan Mojumdar, Principal Scientist and Head NIRI. Sir, jodi NIRI theke apnara you took up the very important study, source apportionment study, which is Bengal. But I'd like to also like to know what are the sources beyond Kolkata in some of the other non-attainment cities, as per your understanding. Dr. Dipanjan Mojumdar, please. Thank you, sir. Sir, if you could unmute your microphone, please.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for calling me. And thanks to Switch On Foundation. And I'm supposed to briefly talk about the operating in West Bengal. So I thought I would just talk a little bit about urban sources and rural West Bengal also. Like what we found during Kolkata and Howrah study has already been briefed about by Dr. Gupta. But there are some other sources as well, like the prominent sources, as he has already said, was road dust, that is the resuspension of dust from the roads. Then vehicles, in terms of PM2.5, vehicular source is also important. Construction debris, which is wantonly dumped here and there, and they get resuspended, is also an important one. Then the from dirty fuels like cow dung cakes, coal, firewood, they are still being used in urban India, in eateries and some of the slums, which are actually present there in Kolkata and Howrah and some other cities also. So those household fuels as well as fuels used in restaurants and roadside eateries, they also play a big part. There is crematory emissions, hot mix plants, which are seasonal in nature. Regions where industries are operating, thermal power plants are operating, there also these sources become important in urban areas. Urban areas also, if we find break-ins operating at some specific places where they can be extremely polluting in nature. So these are mainly the urban sources that I have studied. Working on one of the that Rudra said that just sprinkling of water and cleaning the roads makes a huge difference, or made a huge difference in the last winter. So apart from the dust that are waste dumps, actually they are on fire, indiscriminate fire in some cities. And believe me, that is the problem all over India and many parts of the world also, because these dumps due to methane, inbuilt methane inside the dumps, and also in the dry weather they catch fire. And that fire goes on and on for quite some time until the monsoon arrives, because mechanically and devices dousing those fires is very difficult, because the fire originates from the inside the dumps. And we have seen that in even Andaman and Nicobar also, where the waste dumps in some of the islands are on fire. And alarmingly, some of the operators told me that their bosses have told them, like the bosses of the operators, they have told them to put fire also in deliberately in the dumps to reduce the bulk, because otherwise sometimes spot them it becomes unmanageable. Because the amount of dust that waste that's dumped there, they cannot manage. So they sometimes put on fire also. So the fire in the dams is also a serious issue. I think West Bengal government are taking some actions, or they are actually monitoring the issue how the dam fire can be minimized. West Bengal, again, some of the sources that we see in urban areas will be there, like road dust again, because roads are not they are not actually concretized, or they are not, they're only hardened roads, so they emit a lot. Apart from that, the soil which comes naturally from the agricultural fields through air movement, and also during agricultural tillage operations, farming operations, that is a significant source in rural India as well as rural West Bengal. Crop burning issue has cropped up in the last 2-3 years that the has already addressed, and they're trying to monitor. This activity, I believe, is still scattered, localized, and how much they're actually polluting to the distant receptors, that is going to be seen in due course of time when the study results are out. Apart from that, the fuels that are used in rural sector in India, if you see the kind of fuel that is burned in rural India, are wooden cake, fuel wood, coal. So these things are the major ones that are used in the rural sector, because LPG penetration is not there everywhere. So that is one of the major sources also in the rural sector, and that causes indoor air pollution also, which generally we forget. But indoor air pollution is, I think, is as severe as outdoor air pollution. Then in some areas like near Bardwan, you find that a lot of rice fields have come up. So those rice mills also contribute regionally at some places good amount of air pollution, because you can see if you visit those areas, you will find lots of smoke are being billowed by those chimneys of these rice mills. Then brick kilns, again, in some rural areas where brick kilns are present, they are in clusters actually. They contribute a lot to the air pollution. So these are the mostly the rural West Bengal scenario, and of course, if you go all over India, the sources are not much different. Although their contribution here vary a little bit, but this is how socially we behave in all over India. So sources are more or less similar. And one interesting study, very recent study of 2016 of Petroleum and Natural Gas Ministry, it says that the usage of fuels of like coal, firewood, cow dung cake, etc. in rural India is still predominant because they get it free. In many states, they have given the statistics like around 67% of households get these fuels free. UP it is 50%, Jharkhand is 47%, Nagaland also 47%, MP it is 43%, and West Bengal it is only 13%. That means this much of surveyed households, they get these fuels like cow dung cake, coal, and biomass and crop residue still free of cost. And that shows that how much these are all, this survey has been done in low LPG penetration states, right? The regions where LPG penetration is low. And another interesting aspect of the study also, they also interviewed people that ready are they to pay higher prices for LPG that is made available to them to switch over to LPG. And interestingly, the states which are getting those fuels for free now, like I said, Gujarat 60%, 50%, these people responded that they are ready to switch. And those statistics say MP says 56% of the households who are getting these fuels for free, they are ready to switch to LPG, even they are costing higher. Gujarat, around 52% households said yes, they will shift. Jharkhand is 51% of the households, they are ready to shift to LPG. Whereas in Bengal, it says that only 9% of the households which are getting these fuels for free switch to LPG. So that means even if LPG is made available to rural India, not many people in West Bengal are still ready to spend higher amount for LPG. And whereas indoor air pollution and pollution in rural India is still influenced by the household fuels like crop residue, straws, cow dung cake, coal fuel. So that's a very alarming kind of statistics. That means people's willingness to participate in the air quality minimization as well as the cost involved and other socio-economic factors are also important. And I hope as more and more studies are being taken out to rural Bengal also as well as urban areas, things will be sorted out in coming time, and we surely see better air quality in coming times. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the very important work of understanding what is the source of our pollution. ওটা না জানলে আমরা অ্যাকশন নিতে পারবো না, অ্যাক্ট করতে পারবো না. So thank you so much for this very important work, and we'll continue to take your guidance and work to find better solutions. এটা বলে আমি I'd like to invite Mrs. Anumita Roy Chaudhary. Anumita Di, she's Executive Director at CSC. CSC, we all know, is the leading environment-based organization in the country. I am so pleased that Anumita Di, on short notice, is joining us. Anumita Di, look forward to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vinay, Ekta, and the entire Bengal network for Clean Air. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here today and to have this opportunity, because having worked in this area for now last 20 years, I know how important it is to build a community and community demand for clean air. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest catalysts in the coming years, even in Bengal. So, having said that, what I'll do is share my screen and show you some slides. Is that okay?
Please, Anumita.
I'll just share.
Dr. Prashant join Sanjukta ma'am join করেছে অরূপ স্যার আছেন
Just a moment, I'm just sharing.
Sure.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay. So what I do, and we have just heard Mr. Gupta and Purnanda and Mr. Ranjan Bhattacharya, and they have already highlighted the key issues in front of us. What I just do, just add a little bit data to that, and just begin with the fact that what Mr. Gupta said, the dream that we had just experienced during the pandemic. And even though that was an unprecedented humanitarian crisis, but still that disruption has demonstrated to us what is possible. And when you're looking at these visuals, and when you look at the data that is coming out of the continuous emission, the air quality monitors of the State Pollution Control Board, and it's such a dramatic change that during the lockdown we've seen 89% drop from the pre-lockdown phase. And when we move forward, very recently, Central Pollution Control Board has given us additional data, and that shows very clearly that when you compare the lockdown phase with the previous year, in PM2.5, in PM10, what kind of a dramatic change from 40 to 75% change that Kolkata has experienced. And the reason why I'm going to give the example of Kolkata right now is because we've already got the overview for the Bengal. But I just want to dive into Kolkata and the Kolkata region, just to say that how do we need to understand the solutions as we move forward. So when we look at the whole data that is emerged that demonstrates the change, and just see how, and it's interesting that during the lockdown, as the data shows, that Kolkata experienced 12 good air quality days as opposed to 4 days previous year during the same period. And there were no poor air quality days during this phase. So, and even more interesting is that when we looked at Kolkata's hourly data of NO2, which is so strongly linked with traffic, just see the flattening of the curve. So that normally in a typical day, you would see the morning hump and the evening hump. But during the pandemic, we just saw the flattening of the curve, pollution curve during the day. And even though it was not always so hunky-dory, because air pollution is a complex chemistry, that even when PM levels were down, but we did see ozone building up in some parts of the city. Like Vinagnagar showed actually ozone levels, right, sometimes even exceeding the standards. Even in the past, we have understood, this is something very important for us to understand, when you look at the different locations in Kolkata, and how the levels exceed the standard. You do see scores. You see Dunlop, Behala, Hydro, Moland, where you have levels exceeding the standard several times. Now the winter is approaching in Kolkata, and we know from the past data that there can be days when Kolkata's pollution can even exceed Delhi's pollution during winter. Now, so it's a very seasonal phenomenon, Kolkata and Bengal. So normally during, as Poland also said, that we normally don't see that in other seasons so high, but winter is particularly bad and we need to be prepared for that. The question in front of us is that now as we move forward, as we are moving out of the lockdown, and we know that even during the unlocking phase, we have seen 5 times increase in pollution in Kolkata, even though levels are still quite controllable, but still the trend is towards a rising trend. So how do we retain the air quality gains, especially keeping in mind that in Kolkata, Howrah, the annual average levels of PM10 will still have to be reduced by at least 48%. So going forward, how do we understand that? Now, we cannot let this crisis go waste. Now, how do we draw lessons from this crisis? One, scale and speed of action matters. And we have to reduce the regional influence of local air pollution. Pollution does not follow administrative boundary. So now we should not be talking only in terms of city-based plan, but we now need a regional plan and an airshed approach to controlling pollution. What is very interesting and thus very encouraging that all the 7 monitoring cities in West Bengal who are now implementing their cleaner action plans, they've already included all these pollution sectors as a multi-sector plan. So vehicles, industry, power plant, waste, solid fuel, dust generators, urban green, and in some areas mining. So all of these are already part of the cleaner action plan under the NCAP. And that's the first step towards getting a good thing done. That is absolutely necessary that we implement this with absolute discipline to be able to reduce the toxic risk. As you know, that for West Bengal, the state GDP has shown that air pollution is the 3rd highest risk factor. And if we are able to control the pollution, we can add 1.7 years at least to our lives. We can live longer. So this kind of data has actually emerged for West Bengal. And now all the new studies that are showing that how vulnerable people are, but more dramatic, last 1 year, 2 year study that's shown air pollution today affects each and every part of all organs in our body. And now there's a special challenge. Now winter is coming. All the new studies are showing that how COVID-19 is making us vulnerable. Weak lungs. If your lungs are already weakened because of exposure to air pollution, then the weak lung cannot fight the virus. That's the message that is coming out of this new study. So to be true. Now we have already heard our esteemed panelists and who have already highlighted, and I've just listed it. It's not that, well, that nothing is happening. A lot is happening already. The first generation action that Kolkata has already implemented, if you look at it, so you have a phase out happening, you have introduced other states emission standards, LPG driven three-wheelers are there, two-stroke auto rickshaws, PUC upgraded, bus sector reform is underway. Industry, you have seen the bigger industry being shifted out. Tighter emission standards for industrial boilers, coal use restricted in Kolkata. And then the breakthroughs are also improving. But then in this context, it is more important for us to understand the second generation challenge. And the big message that I would like to give out is that today, while we want very strong community awareness about the problem of air pollution, it is even more important to have community awareness regarding the solutions to the problem. And that's what I would really like to focus on today. And therefore, when you're looking at the second generation challenge in Kolkata and the region, you find that it is the vehicles, the transportation sector, certainly the huge motorization, dieselization, and the infrastructure deficit for public transport, walking and cycling. That's something the city will have to face. In industry sector, the big challenge remains for the small scale units, use of dirty fuels, compliance and fugitive emissions. And the area-wide sources, we have the problem of solid fuels in households, open eateries, the problem of clean energy access, open waste burning, all that the panelists have already listed for us. So then, How do we then deepen community understanding of the solutions? So now, even though Kolkata city does not have a power plant, but it's the region around it, the larger ANTA area has. So when you're looking at that, how do we as a community therefore ask for very quick and a very, as soon as possible, that there is no further delay in the implementation of the new emission standards? How do we incentivize the power plants to be able to meet the standard earlier with a first run policy? Can we phase out the old plants in the state and have a plan for that? Is there a potential for gas-based power plants? How do we do very good fly ash management? That's where the whole conversation is going today. In the industry sector, we have seen studies in Kolkata where they have identified the industrial hotspots. Now, what kind, and everywhere, even Delhi and NCR today, talking about hotspot planning and implementation to identify local sources, deal with it so that we can reduce local exposure. Now, can we do that? And Kolkata has already taken proactive steps. And this is very interesting that Kolkata perhaps is the only city which has incentivized the move from coal to oil and gas for the burners, for the boilers. And then, but then we also need to restrain use of dirty fuel. We need to implement the new standards. And the brick kilns that we have just heard about in the larger region, they also now need to move to the much more improved kiln technology. So that's where the contract is going. Vehicles remain a very complex problem because of their numbers, because of the technology, and so look at the on-road emission strategy that we really need to focus on now. Like Kolkata is already phasing out its old vehicles, but now the state requires a scrapping policy to ensure that the scrapped vehicles are just not thrown anywhere in the environment. We can do material recovery from that scrap. And we have to link the fiscal stimulus that we are discussing at the national level today with replacement of all commercial vehicles to maximize the emission gains. We need the second generation strategy for on-road emissions, as you all of you know that you are now buying BS6 vehicles in Kolkata. But do you know how vulnerable these new emission control systems are to frauds and tampering? So are our on-road emission inspection also going to develop further to deal with these technologies? Now, Kolkata is one of the only city in the country to have introduced the remote sensing. And we are asking the city now to expand it not only in the city, but to all other cities, the non-attainment cities in West Bengal. The biggest challenge is the mobility crisis. Because with the motorization, we know that the only widening, you cannot ever find enough land to make more and more roads and to widen your roads. And more of this you try to do, you will not get more congestion and more pollution. Do you know, it's fascinating that during the pandemic, there is Google data now available that shows how the activity patterns changed in India. And what is most dramatic is that retail, recreation visit and office visits reduced by 60 to 84%. And the activities in only residential areas increased because we were all working from home. And for the first time in India, there is a data to show that the walk trips exceeded motorized trips during the pandemic. And that is where Kolkata's advantage is. And we have to build on that advantage. Kolkata has the second highest share of public transport among all cities of India. And because of the most diverse public transport system. It has the lowest average trip length among all mega cities. It has the lowest average distance. It has the lowest vehicle stock because you have other options available. And because of the compact city design, you have been able to keep your distances small. Imagine the power and the potential of this urban design that allows you to walk, cycle, use public transport, and reduce the pollution intensity of the travel. But then, that's the biggest question in front of us to move towards a new normal. Because of the pandemic, the public transport system is virtually collapsing. And because of the social distancing requirement, they are performing at a suboptimal level. And if we do not do something immediately to fund their revival, nationally we are seeing that all transport corporations have lost revenues by 48%, and the government's viability gap funding requirement has increased by 69%. So if you do not infuse resources and have a green recovery deal for the sector, then public transport, the vision that Kolkata has for 2025, how will you even realize it if we do not have a clear strategy for this, and if we don't do this, then the personal vehicle usage will continue to increase and foul up the air. And these reforms are already underway in Kolkata. But how are we going to ensure that this reform is carried forward? Your electric bus program is getting forward. Another big challenge, and therefore what we have seen from the global experience during the pandemic, because people now want to have contact-free walking and travel. Therefore, walking and cycling is contact-free, and therefore you do not catch infection. And because of that interest, globally, you look at in any city globally, they are now just coming up with their pop-up lanes for the cycling, walking, for safe cycling and walking, and that's where the whole focus is, at how can you quickly shift your short distance travel to walking and cycling. And keep in mind, in Kolkata, nearly half of your travel trips are below 3 kilometers. So if the government has, and we are encouraged to see that the government of Kolkata has actually talked about cycling master plan for the city. And if we can roll that out very quickly, then just understand the opportunity of decarbonized zero emission travel and how quickly we can have. And Kolkata has this natural pedestrian precincts. Now just identify these areas, pedestrianize them, and connect them with electric mobility feeders or public transport, and just understand the emission benefits. Do you know in Kolkata today, it's just not that you have constrained road network for vehicles to move. If you look at the way the parking demand from vehicles are using up Kolkata space, 100% parking in Kolkata municipal area is on street, and which has reduced the average traffic speed. The street parking has reduced footpath space by 50 to 70%, and that's an older estimate. Parking violation today, 70% of total traffic violation in Kolkata, according to the traffic police. And parking enforcement can block fire tenders, emergency services in the congested areas. Globally today, therefore, parking strategy is being adopted to reduce emissions by capping parking and by reducing vehicle usage. So we also need to now, and we know that Kolkata is working on this parking area management plan. Kolkata's current strategies do reflect some good practices, but we need the collective consciousness and awareness to push for the right agenda and the right policy. While Kolkata is designed for compact city, but the moment you move out of Kolkata to the new development areas, you realize that the new urban design is car-centric, which is giving advantage to the movement of car, but without any good public transport connectivity that locks in huge amount of pollution. Now we have to therefore think through all the new development, redevelopment in all the non-attainment cities and other parts of the state, that how can we adopt the compact city design and walkable, cyclable, and with good public transport design, because otherwise we will not be able to win this battle. So understand what is the problem and understand what is the sustainable paradigm. The problem is on your left, and which is only car-centric, you're only building flyovers and wider roads, and that is blocking in road pollution. But the right photograph is what is you need to modernize. That's a Kolkata street with only buses, with taxis, with people walking, barely any persons or vehicles like a street. But this will be attractive only if we invest in the infrastructure to modernize that. So, and the final point that I just want to make here is, and end with it, we have already discussed the problem of waste, and we do have estimates for Kolkata and from the municipal corporation how much of waste getting generated. We have just heard about methane capture from the landfill sites, and also the whole problem of construction and demolition waste and the dust from the construction. Already solutions are there. There are rules and regulations that have already been crafted for this, for segregated collection, for recycling, for treatment, and for reuse of waste. And that's where the entire focus has to be. Kolkata and all other cities of West Bengal must immediately inventorize and characterize their waste and quantify the waste and design the system of waste collection for segregation, material recovery, and recycling. That has to be the non-negotiable agenda. And the solid fuel, we've already heard Mr. Dipan Bhattacharya talk about it. I'm not going to get into this, but the fact remains that we will have to find strategies to make clean fuel accessible and affordable for everyone. Crop fire, this is when we looked at the data for crop fire around West Bengal. we realized that, but I'm glad to hear from Mr. Ruto today that, we are already on our way to strategize and control this, but this will certainly require a very strong seasonal focus. So my final agenda that we are presenting to you, and what I'm really trying to make us say, is that as a community today, like as we're building the Bengal Clean Network, while we have to bring a lot more information, knowledge, evidence on air pollution and how it is harming us and harming our health, our children, our elderly, but along with that, we also have to have a much more matured conversation on the complexity of the solution, what's happening on the ground. How do we inform the people better? And that's where we need the massive transition. Last stage, we need the transition to clean fuel and technology. We need massive mobility transition. We need paradigm shift in the waste management. Need scale and effectiveness. We need compliance and accountability. But understand we need awareness to change public conversation and politics of solution. Pandemic disruption has happened at an unbelievable scale and speed. But remember, we also need action at a similar scale and speed to breathe easy. While technology solution exists, while regulations already exist, implementation has to be the main focus. But along with
Anamita, if I could also ask you to wrap up, please.
This is my last slide. And this is what I'm going to say. I always love to show this to the community. That along with technology and regulatory change, you also require a mindset change. So here in an advanced country, a Dutch woman's can visit the Queen on a bicycle. We cannot enter the 5-star hotel on a bicycle. Now that's what the behavioral change is all about. So if we can collectively work towards and understand the multi-sector solution that needs to build up across the state, we will find our solution. Thank you very much.
Anamita, thank you so much. You've left us with so many suggestions, questions, answers. This was very, very insightful. Again, thank you so much. And it sets the ground for the next discussion where we have with us some very senior doctors from across Bengal. We have Dr. Prashant Kumar Singh, who's HOD pulmonologist, IQ City Hospital, Durgapur, Dr. Arup Haldar, pulmonologist, Columbia Asia, Dr. Sanjukta Datta, who's with the Fortis Hospital, she's a consultant head, and Dr. Suman Malik, who's clinical director at Narayana Super Specialty Hospital. So one general question, two questions, if I may ask our esteemed doctors who've joined us. Thank you very much, firstly, for joining. And two questions. One, we're hearing about how air pollution, and there are a lot of reports out there, how air pollution is going to increase the risk of COVID. That was one question that that's burning inside me. And the second is, of course, how bad and how severe is the problem of air pollution in the state of Bengal. If I could request short comments from our doctors. Dr. Sanjukta Datta, if you could make a quick comment, please.
Yeah, actually, the winters are really headache for all of us as doctors. Because being a doctor, I'm not an environmentalist, but pollution has got and worked a bit because we have seen the shift. When we were kids, we never this many kids having in. It's very common. There are so many kids coming where we need to give nebulizers, inhalers to a kid, and there are many lung. So all the patients they come with either asthma, COPD, permanent lung damage, and also it is not just lung. It causes a stroke. It causes the damage to the heart, as I said. Different kinds of allergies. Also, it can cause damage to the unborn fetus in the mother's womb, and the cancer is also very much possible. Over the eye and practicing medicine for more than 20 years now. What we are seeing that it is actually increasing. How much we were seeing 20 years ago, we never thought of this could happen, but this is really increasing. And with asthma or lung problems, they go to the doctor gives anti-allergy nebulization, and they think, okay, it will many of the kids do not have symptoms after the age of 5. That's a good thing, but that doesn't mean that there is no permanent damage left in the lung. Only thing is the increase and the patient is not having symptom anymore. But there is no guarantee that this kid after 40 years, after 30 years, or in the old age maybe, when he will have again the shortening of the lung capacity, he will have problem. Right? So this is damage. And if you see the global data, India has the most lung problems in all over the. You were talking about COVID. I head an emergency department in this city, so we are seeing COVIDs every day. My hospital is full of COVID patients. Now I am really scared because in normal winters we get many patients who come with shortness of breath because of the previous lung issues and which is aggravated because of the pollution. Now already COVID patients are coming with shortness of breath. So it will be for us to differentiate who is coming with COVID and who is coming because of the lung issues because of the pollution. And I really do not know will overlap. I know that today what I am seeing is the panic from the COVID is going down. That's a good thing, but the seriousness also is going down. That's the real bad. So people are thinking that yeah, it's okay because of us COVID is okay. It will come as a flu-like symptom and it will go off. But then what is happening in at today's date when the patients are coming, they're coming in very, very, very bad. Almost the lung is totally ruined by the COVID, or the patient's blood pressure has gone down. So patients are coming already in the bad state because of this, reduced panic, reduced fear. So with that, when the pollution will add up, I don't know if the patient might die in home or get more catastrophic response from the community. I really don't know. So that is the health problems we are already facing.
Comments below तुमसे.
So let's see what happens in this winter. We all can try to increase the awareness. And as I just want to add total medicine. But when I was also listening to the last speakers, they were doing really a wonderful job, and the organizers and all the speakers, they are actually adding up. But as a layman in this perspective, what I would like to tell is there are buses, taxis, which we see they are emitting black fumes. I don't understand how they are not controlled or how they are being overlooked. And there are people who burn garbages on the roads, municipal people who are actually collecting garbage, the corporation people who are collecting garbage, they actually dump it somewhere and put on fire. Until and unless I believe if there is a control from the administration and everybody all around, when I see a get to that, what you are doing or what you are inhaling in your lung. So I think the great awareness, if you can reach out to the schools, colleges, where single person who is sincere enough and responsible enough can stop and talk to the people who are doing it. Also a very strict law, because if I talk to Italy, in my area there are some cars who comes in and makes it. So if I go and talk to them, it is their earning, so they will never listen. The person who is burning some garbage, they might listen to me. But then they also need to know how to dispose this. They dispose it to the garbage carrier, and the same garbage carrier person is going to somewhere dumping it and putting the thing on fire. So all these things, I think, as you are trying, I believe the administrative part also should have a very, otherwise how we all can control
Dr.
it
Sanjukta, I think
unless there is a strict rule, strict policy or fine or something. So that is it from.
Absolutely, Dr. Datta. You've been such a passionate campaigner for clean air. Thank you so much for all the work you do and for all the inspiration. Thank you so much. a question that has always been in my mind, and I would like to ask Dr. Singh. Dr. Singh, Kolkata niye onek kotha hoy about air pollution and the impact of air pollution. I've been wondering what is the situation outside Kolkata. You're from Durgapur, so what is the situation of air pollution and the impact of its health on citizens outside of Kolkata and West Bengal, cities like Durgapur? Dr. Singh, if you could hear me, could you unmute yourself and I can come back to you later. Dr. Haldar, Dr. Arup Haldar is here with us. Dr. Haldar, you yourself been a very passionately talking about air pollution and its health impacts. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Oh, okay. So first, I will congratulate you
Gargidi.
because putting all the stakeholders in one screen for fighting air pollution is just
Dr.
a
Singh.
wonderful idea. And I've been associated with Calcutta Clean, Kolkata Clean Air for a long time, and I'm very delighted to see they're spreading their wings now to cover all the West Bengal. So, COVID-19 pandemic is a unique situation, as you all know, and this has direct relation to the air pollution. I think I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah. If the COVID-19 virus, that is the SARS-CoV-2, is a natural virus, if it's a natural virus, that is a natural source. Human is not the natural source. So human got contact with that, maybe in the market or maybe in the wild setting. Because of the reduction of the forest, man and the wild animals are coming together. And there are a lot of viruses which can cause pandemic in near future. We know only 2,000 of them, but there are millions of viruses. So SARS-CoV-2 is not the only pandemic we'll be facing if we do not frustration. And if we keep encroaching on the forest lands, we're going to face many more pandemic in the near future. Pandemic was there. There was a lockdown, and as we all know, the lockdown was there because to prepare the healthcare system to fight the virus. But the lockdown has done some wonderful things also in the environment. He has shown there is a 50% reduction in the nitrogen dioxide emission. And for the first time globally, we are going to meet the 8.5 goal after the Second World War. Clinically, actually, during this lockdown period, there was so much reduction of the pollution that my COPD stopped coming to a chamber. It is not that they have stopped coming because of the fear. They were actually well. When they're coming now, they're telling that they're actually well. But now winter is coming. We'll have the 3 minutes to fight now. First is the COVID-19, second is the influenza virus, and third is the air pollution. Because after the lockdown, as you can see from the previous slide, the level of pollution again increasing, and the lung, which was healthier previously, is actually going to be in his previous state again, and it is in the damaged state. For infection, infects his damaged lung. We do not know what will be the fate. Actually, this pollution increases the oxidative stress in the lung. The ozone, the nitrogen dioxide are all oxidant gases. This increases oxidative stress in the lung. Oxidative stress is increased, SARS-CoV-2 further increases oxidative stress and there is so that's why I'm very much scared about the future. Let's see what will happen. Over to you, Vinay.
Thank you so much, sir. And you've always been there to guide us, citizens, about the impacts. I would now like to finally reach out to Dr. Malik from Narayana Super Speciality Hospital to wrap this discussion, especially on the impact air pollution. And you've seen it over a period of time, what the impact has been, and how we can protect ourselves, especially as we go into the winter months.
Yeah, thank you, Vinay. Thanks, Kolkata Clean Air, for inviting me. And today morning, actually, we had very nice sessions and enlightened sessions from Dr. Polan Rudro, Dr. Dipanjan Majumdar, and then Ms. Onumita Roy Chaudhary. And it's very informative. And that we have already learned that what are the sources of air pollution, how we can curb air pollution, and what are the way forward. But still, probably we are lacking behind because
एनजीओ থেকে কারা কারা আছে
pollution
গাড়িতে?
is. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. You're audible, sir.
Am I?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So probably implementation is
তাড়াতাড়ি
not
বলো গাড়িতে।
there.
এখানে এসো।
Awareness
এখানে
is
এসো।
there. Uh, I can give you one example that
আর
today
সুমনদা
I
আছে?
am coming from New Town, so it's a nice greenery area, but still all the
ঠিক আছে,
roads
বলতে হবে।
are now they're repairing all the roads and they're using
আর
the
এনিয়াদি
hot
আছে?
mix. And
নেই না?
we know that hot mix can cause significant amount of air pollution. And as Dr. Halder said that as our festive seasons are knocking at our door, and winter is coming. So this is the time of evaluation, and we see lot of respiratory cases coming to our emergencies, our OPDs with air pollution. And actually we are losing around 50 lakhs of life every year due to air pollution. And as I am oncologist, I must say, seeing more and more number of lung cancer cases, respiratory related malignancies, and air pollution related last few years. It is increasing day by day. So this year in pandemic situation, yes, we know there was reversal of air pollution, and the thing is that is very temporary thing, because probably that reduction of air pollution will stay for a few months. But once we start uh, practicing our bad habits like using diesel vehicle, using hot mix, using other industrial products which increases air pollution, that would significantly affect our health. And we know that the effect that air pollution give us, it's a very long term effect, it's not a very temporary effect. So whatever the lung changes we see, whatever the health changes we see, it's usually it has a very long term effect. So be careful about air pollution, and every step in your life try to curb the air pollution by more plantation of trees, reduction of using diesel vehicles, and try to educate others who are actually doing this kind of air pollution. So
স্কুলে আনন্দিতা হোম চৌধুরী
Calcutta
আছে
is
হেমশিলা
doing
থেকে
a wonderful job, and I must say that
গার্গিদি
if this
হেমশিলা
kind of
হেমশিলা থেকে আছে
NGOs, they are working
অন্দিতা
hard, and definitely in future probably we'll be able to improve the quality of air as well as quality of our health.
one question that I one question that has come, sir, is what are measures common citizens can take in order to fight the in especially in the summer, in the winter seasons as we come in, where the air pollutions are going to go up. What are precautions we can take with the background of COVID?
See, for COVID, if you compare COVID with air pollution, so one thing is common, that usage of mask. So whenever you are going out, so please use proper mask. And if it is N95 mask, probably that can prevent air pollution related as well as COVID also. And when you are staying inside at your home, so please be careful, no one should smoke in a room, because we have seen lot of passive smoking in our urban population, and almost 62% of our urban population they are exposed to passive smoking, even children. And we have seen a significant number of deaths due to passive smoking, almost 10 lakhs deaths due to passive smoking. So we have to use the pollution sources indoor as well as outdoor. So we have to be careful about that.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, if I would now like to invite Dr. Singh. Dr. Singh, if you can hear me, আমি একটু জানতে চাইছিলাম কি কলকাতা নিয়ে we've seen the impact, air pollution has been talked about, we've seen the impact on health, doctors have spoken about it. I'd like to know from you, what have you seen in Durgapur, what has been the impact of air pollution in cities outside of Kolkata? Dr. Singh, if you're speaking, if you could unmute yourself, please. Okay, we had confirmed Dr. Singh was there on the line. Maybe there's a issue, but we'll come back to Dr. Singh if he's able to hear us and is able to connect. Thank you so much. I'm almost sounding like a news anchor now, but thank you so much to all our doctors. It's a very busy time for all of you, and thank you so much for all the great service you're doing for us. Big salute, big thank you for everything that you do. And we wish you safety while you're wishing us safety and you take care of us. We wish you the best of health, and we wish you take care of yourself as well during these times. Thank you so much once again for everything. Echada, now I would like to move into the next round of discussion, which is going to be an open discussion. কিছু মেসেজও এসেছে কি আমরা কি করব, আমরা we are setting up. We had worked on Kolkata. We worked on Kolkata Clean Air. Now we are expanding that network to Bengal Clean Air Network. Anumita Di very clearly mentioned there is a need for communities to come together. We've identified schools and youth becoming very important in spreading that awareness, in being the change makers who are inheriting the future. Very happy to, and that's why we were very conscious that we wanted to bring in schools, colleges, leading schools and colleges from the state. We have many schools, colleges which had confirmed participation. It will not be possible to go around and talk to everyone, but I'd like to pick up one or two, and we can hear from a few others. We also have leading NGOs who have been working very passionately on environment for a very long time. I've looked up to so many of you who are here in this call. So I want this to become an open conversation. We have about 40 minutes, so we are okay with the time. Ekto open conversation রাখতে চাইছি, ছোট conversation. Of course, it's not enough time, but what would be great is to know and discuss what are positive actions as individuals we can take. We've understood the problem, we've understood the source, we've also understood each one of us can play a role, even if it is a young student. What are actions that you think in your mind we can all take? What are actions you're taking already in your school, in your college, through your NGO? So you can share some ideas. I would begin by, maybe to get the ball rolling, I'd like to hear from some of the education institutions. So we have the principal of Hemshila Model School, Durgapur, and we have the principal, Sujata Ghatak, Mrs. Sujata Ghatak, and from Techno India Public School. So love to hear from them. Also, there is Shashwati Di, Mrs. Shashwati Sen from WWF, who's set up a large network of school, works in a large network of schools. So would love to hear from you on the point that I just brought up. Mrs. Anantha Chaudhary, if you could start, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everyone, and really I would thank all the team members here and the eminent guests who had spoken a lot about how to contribute individually in the senior campaign. And as a principal of a school, an educational institution where we cater to students from 3-year-old to 18-year-old, I think the most important thing is that we need to focus is to create an awareness amongst our students who would be really building the future of our country. And until and unless they are groomed, they are taught, they are made to analyze and introspect, I don't think this campaign would be successful. So, we need to really develop in them the positive attitude, the ethics towards the environment. If we just see to it very quickly, I would like to put in here that a kind of bond with nature has to be created, because students have just being in a urban lifestyle or in a nuclear family, we are quite detached from the villages, which initially there was a bond with it. So I think in a school curriculum, we need to integrate this environment consciousness in our everyday teaching learning process. That should be the one thing that we should be doing. So when we are talking of CBSE going for experiential learning, I think we can have projects like projects can be making a herbal garden. It can be that anything like water conservation. It can be on any other topic that we take up. It can be a leaf safari day. So we take them outside, let them go for a nature walk, and with that we integrate subjects like physics, maths, biology, language, geography, so that this is integrated in their curriculum and they grow this consciousness amongst them. So this could be one, and maybe we can organize some seminars and like these things where really I am thankful that you asked us students also to participate. So some of my students are here, so they can be enriched and let them participate in the program, like planting a sapling on their birthdays. Let them get involved in this community outreach program. So these can be good ones that they can be doing here. They can go for rallies, not one day that we celebrate Earth Day or Environment Day, but let each day be an Earth Day and Environment Day in the school. Let they do water audit in the school, that how much water they are using out in school taps and all. Let them do that. And this message, let them carry it to their homes. So I think that way, very briefly, I can just share with you some of our ideas. And some of it we are practicing in our schools. And so let these youngsters take up the responsibility of saving this Mother Earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'd like to bring in Shashwati B from WWF. WWF has been running a brilliant program, setting up nature clubs across schools. What is the role that you see of young people? And you've seen many of them over years being part of nature club and taking on important roles. Shashwati, if I could ask you to come in and share about the role schools can play in spreading the important word for clean air.
Okay, thank you, Binay, and good afternoon to all of you. Actually, WWF is working for a long time. This is our 50th year. And in West Bengal also, this is the 50th, we are celebrating the 50th year in West Bengal. So for a long time, we are doing this awareness program in schools and colleges. So in COVID-19 situation, what we have done, all the schools are closed for last 6-7 months. So we couldn't approach to the schools. This year we couldn't plant with the schools, but we have already did plantation with NGOs and in village areas. But what we have done, we have made small videos on the environmental problems. That is on kitchen garden, how to make compost, how to plant a small tree, how you could do nature trail, virtual nature trail. So there are a lot of videos we have made,
and we are just posting it in our WhatsApp group, in our Facebook.
Question
So
has to be
I
addressed
request
or any
here
point?
there are many principals and teachers from schools and other NGOs. So I request all of them, if you could contact us, we could give you these videos. And these videos are very, it is a fun type of, but they could learn from this. And there are worksheets added to it. So whatever they are learning, they could put in the worksheet. So we could understand that how much the students are getting knowledge from these videos. So this is a feedback kind of. So this we are giving to all the schools, and if you could want, you could just write to us. We'll send you, and you could again disseminate it in your groups, WhatsApp and Facebook. So I think in this time when the schools are closed and we can't reach to the schools, that time we could do the awareness program by these things, and this is in a fun kind of, so students also like it. And in rural areas also, I am very much I want to work with the rural area much. Rural area also, we have seen that 2 to 50% students, they have access to Facebook and WhatsApp. So we also disseminate these things to rural areas, and in urban areas, most of the students, they have smartphones. They don't have, their parents must be having the smartphones, and they could use it. So I request here to all the teachers, if they could contact, and we could give it to them. It is free of cost, nothing is charged for it. Only we need the outreach. So
Shashwati, this was a big this is really popular. There are already messages coming how and when we can get the videos. So very thankful to you for making this available.
Write to me at sn@wwfindia.net.
Great.
Just when we'll send you.
Thank you so much for this work. And I remember how when we started Switch On, we reached out to you and you welcomed us with open arms, and we did some programs together. I look forward to continue this support with a lot of the NGOs that are here, who we've worked with in the past. We've got Ananyadi. I remember also reaching out to Ananyadi from during those times. So I mentioned it's like going back full circle. I'd also like to now bring in another principal from Techno India Public School, Mrs. Sujata Katak ma'am. So we're talking a little bit about schools and their role they can play, and the important role children play, and not just in schools, but also when they go back to their parents, when they go back to their community. So what have you seen, ma'am, and what is the role school children as leaders can play in this important issue?
Thank you, Mr. Jaju, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this lovely session. Wave of fresh air is always welcome. So good afternoon, everyone. The domain have spoken. I can just give you an idea about what the students of Techno India Public School Korea have been doing since 2018. And in fact, Techno India Group as a whole is dedicated to this cause, along with many other causes, also related to sustainability. Now, our children from classes 8 to 12, they were part of a campaign which was, I think, called Advocates for Clean Air. And so we continued that. That was just a project. It ended sometime in early 2019, but we didn't stop it because such projects are, almost lifelong. They have to be continued. So we have in our school, we have some students who are called Green Warriors. They look after the green project in the school, which we started last year also, and where we focused on waste management as part of the 17 SDG, the sustainable goals. So that was one project. And as far as this clean air, this is relevant to today's platform. The children, they visited their neighbors. They collected the data, what is the medium of cooking, how their lifestyle, and then they visited the hospital. I think they went to RMJ Body Hospital. They met the doctors and they prepared a list of in a tabular form. I remember because the concerned teachers, They showed
College
it to
থেকে
me.
সুরজিৎ
They
চক্রবর্তী
collected
আছে?
the data, how the impact of
আচ্ছা, আর
air
কেউ আছে কলেজ
pollution
থেকে?
on health of a youngster or even an elderly person.
উনি ওই
And
যে
they
সিএসএম
shared
এর
the data which
একটা
the doctors gave them with their
না না
neighbors,
সিএম
with
না
their friends, with
একজন
their
ছিল না
families, so that people could actually
সায়েন্টিস্ট
get a proper idea of how badly they can be affected if they don't follow some norms, or they are not aware, or they don't immediately take this up seriously. And in front of the schools, our school, we have these cartoons. So they students made small stickers and pasted on paints the windshields of the cartoons, no horn, and please get your
জয়েন করেছে
tests done. And the little roadside stalls, and when they say dada ei jalani use korben na koila khoti karo, you can use LPG. They have been at it for a very long period of time. So simultaneously, I want my students are just not working on the air pollution part. It's got them into a blackish green earth literally. But somewhere I feel, as I was hearing Sunil Gupta sir or the doctors, we need a bit of intervention on the part of the administration and the government. Little children are trying their best, but how far can we sustain this momentum, this urge to improve and contribute to the well-being of themselves and other human beings? So unless there are laws, unless there are strictures, the students are doing it. They are going to the roadside stalls, they are pasting stickers on vehicles, and they are trying to and interestingly, in my school, most of the students have switched over to cycles. Like we monitor how many, like in 2018, if there were more private cars, now they have started coming in cycles, and more of pool cars to reduce the amount of air pollution. And of course, our school is a no plastic zone, and we try to minimize waste. Collections, in the sense like whatever waste material is there in every student's homes, in every week they come and keep it in a room designated, and then we make items out of those waste materials. So it's recycling, air pollution, awareness, your green schools. We are doing a good job, I feel. So far so good. And as I said, academic itself is working towards this cause, but something more from the law enforcement bit is also required, I guess. That's about all, and all the best to this wonderful platform, and the name itself, the acronym Clean Air Network, which is CAN. So if you want, I'm sure you can. Thank you so much, everybody over here.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now we have about 25 minutes at our hand. We can obviously also go a little over, but I'd like to now start opening up the floor for discussion. I have some friends here, some people I've looked up to, mentors. Now the last part of the discussion can be about what are actions and initiatives we can take. There are also some colleges I'd like to go between some education institutions and people from the NGO. There are friends from Kolkata Clean Air. Ajay is here, Vijay, Latadi are here, who've been instrumental in starting the conversation about clean air, and we've gotten ample support from organizations like Bangla Natak, Ananya Di is here, Saraswati Di is already spoken about. There are many others who are here, Pradeepda, Navada. So I'd like to hear from some of you what you think has been what are activities that have been most effective in taking the message and awareness out, and along with awareness, what are actions that are most important as of now that needs to be taken by youth, children, and citizens to combat the menace that we have. So if I could bring in Ajeda and Latadi, Ajeda, if one of you could come in at this point. If I'm audible, and if you could unmute yourself. Otherwise, Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you thank you everyone. It was a very amazing discussion. I really thank for the great presentation, all the different aspects and all the other speakers who spoke about. And I think it's very great to see that the initiative which has seen some success, I would say, as is expanding to a larger scale with other states. Cities which were also included in some discussion what was coming up that why we're not looking at the cities which is beyond Kolkata. It's great that because air pollution as also said that we have to go towards an air-shed approach and slowly we are expanding this is very important, and I'm sure in future we can look at collaborating with other stakeholders around us working so that we can connect these bridges together and make a more kind of
message
approach. I also represent the Urban Network here, and at Urban Network we have really focused on awareness. And we had a program which caters to women as healthy energy will raise awareness on alternatives to firewood and other fuels that we use. So we would love to work with the stakeholders here present to work on this aspect with them. There are a lot of schools that present here, and we would like to hold some sessions with them. We have a program called Each One Save One. We have developed with a group of researchers 9 green mantras which help small actions can help you save on an average 1 unit of electricity at your household. It's very simple 9 mantras. So you can share those with you and you can share them with the students and they can perform them in small energy on how they are performing. There are so many such ideas. So I look forward to working with all of you and best wishes to everyone being part of the Bengal-CAN network, and together we can make our air cleaner and skies.
Great, thank you so much, and thanks so much, Ajada, and fantastic work that Earthday does, and all the initiatives that have happened over the years to spread the awareness. Ananya Nidhi, you brought up something very interesting about the green champion. If you want to share something about that, we'd love to hear from you.
Since we are discussing about youth network, as Bangladesh, we have been working with schools. So if you're interested in some of the videos and material we share, I'll also share my email ID I can send. And if the schools and young people are taking actions, we have a Facebook page called Green Champions. So we can share there. So I just
Thanks so much, Ananyadi. Also, Ananyadi, thoughts on what are activities, actions that can be taken. If you want to share, if you have anything on that, we'd love to hear.
Of course, awareness is important, but what we can do as a collective, give it a focus, we can do some thematics. I think that way we can keep it going. Since we are talking of CAN Bengal now,
who are the colleges?
There is also the government environment department. I think the students also have an environment club. We can engage them also. So it's a long-term process, and maybe sometimes we can do some contests where some of us can come together and for making short films on their actions taken, or maybe writing music and stories. So that way, once the way we say that once you start teaching, you start learning too. So as the young people, they work it out. It's all about getting that action into yourself.
NGOs, colleges, schools, schools.
We can plan out. We can do a quarterly kind of a program through social media, because now physical outreach is becoming increasingly difficult. We can plan like Earth Day, we did that also, and we can select some typical aspects. So clean fuel, clean vehicles, shared use of public transports. We can do thematics. So we can plan it out.
Thank you so much, Ananidi. I'd like to bring in Vinita Di and Prikesh Da, who are from Asar. They've been running a clean air collective. They've seen a lot of. They have we've seen a lot of good initiatives across the country that have been implemented by many schools, colleges, NGOs, or citizen groups. Would love to hear from them what has been very successful, some good case studies that we can learn from. So if I could bring in Vinita Di and Rikesh Da into the conversation. Vinita Di, you're not, if you could unmute yourself, please. No, still not able to hear you. Your video is doing okay. I'll come back to you. Maybe you can just check. Right, thanks. In the meantime, there are some colleges that I'd like to. I want to reach out to. So there is Rajendranath College. If they're from their principals or teachers that are present, if you want to share initiatives or activities you've taken, we'd love to hear from you. Also, besides that, I want to start opening up the floor. We have another 15 minutes. We also have Pauline from YEast. Pauline from YEast, you've got the Techno India group, and there are a lot of initiatives, Techno India group, and you've of course been looking at sustainability, and that's how you've started YEast as a network for sustainability. Would love to hear from you as well on role colleges, especially in youth. There's so much distraction for a youth, but these are extremely important issues that need to be addressed, that needs to be focused on. What are thoughts from any of you?
Hi, Vinay. Hello, everyone. I'll just say a few words here about your latest question. So as you were mentioning, I work at the crossroads between education and sustainability as the sustainability director of Techno India. And I think part of our role as a network in colleges is to get the dialogue going. I've been thinking a lot about, yes, we need to take a lot of action, but the fact of talking about it is also very, very important, especially when we realize that here on this call, we're all believing into the environment and we want to take action towards it, but we're talking about it into our bubble. And this bubble is very small compared to the number of people that need to hear about these topics and that have never heard of it. So it's really our individual duty to talk about it, create opportunities for awareness, create opportunities for debate, create opportunities for dialogue. As far as education is concerned, to me, sustainability, clean air, climate change, all of these issues are related. And the way I usually coin it is, to me, it was mentioned by a principal just before, but to me, it really comes back to how ethical we are able to raise the next generations and the younger generations, and it's all about the mindset of realizing the kind of impact we have as an individual every time that we consume action, because all of our actions have somewhat of an impact. You can put it in one, it can be negative one. And I think part of the journey, part of the process, part of collective change is to sit down with oneself and think about all of these during the day and play the game of trying to reduce that impact as much as possible. So it's really this mindset of realizing one's impact and really be aware that we're sharing this one space with another almost 8 billion people with this non-wasteful kind of mindset. And so one last word here, this is where the role of education at the school and college level is really, really important, is because the mindset change does not happen within a 2-hour awareness session. It happens on a daily basis over years and years of talking about it, showing the way, being exemplary as teachers and as management in schools and colleges. So we need to talk about it, and we need to talk about it every day.
Thank you so much, Pauline. Vinitadi, I hope I can bring you in and be able to connect. Not being able to hear you still. Could you maybe try without the earphones, please? And maybe there's an issue with the mic. Right now you're on mute. If you could unmute yourself. You were on mute a little while back. And no, I don't think this is this time, but we will connect with you and we will hear from you again in the future. Thank you so much. I would like to bring in Latadi. Latadi has been very, very passionately working on waste. I'd like to take up a couple of themes now. We have Harkirat Da from the Rainfall. We have Harkirat Da from the Rainfall Alliance. We have Latadi, who's very passionately working on waste. We have Satanjit Da, who's the bicycle mayor of Kolkata, very passionate about cycling. So, if you talk about transport waste, I'd like to bring in some experts to talk about what we could do in our day-to-day lives, in our institutions, in our schools, that can immediately have an impact on air pollution. So, Latadi, if I could bring you in, if you can hear me, if you could share what are activities and initiatives we could take on waste and the importance of it, and later if I could bring in Satanjit Da to talk about cycling.
Hi everyone, am I audible?
Yes, Latadi, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you, Vinay, for organizing this event, and thank you to all the speakers who spoke very good names and the subject of clean air, something that we all need more than anything else, without which our lives wouldn't be what they are. As Vinay mentioned, that my main work is on waste, and I feel what we really need to do is, as many other speakers mentioned, awareness is absolutely necessary, and as Pauline mentioned just now, that it has to be on a daily basis in schools, colleges, in every place that we can think of.
Any question
And
that
we
is
definitely
left
need a mindset
unanswered?
change.
Huh?
COVID has brought about some mindset change, but I'm afraid that once everything comes back to normal, that it will revert back to the previous normal and not the new normal that we know today. But if we don't, then I think it will be a positive change, because people are understanding a lot about climate change now, and they see the poor skies of Kolkata. I mean, we at Kolkata, we can see poor skies which we never
No
saw
college Gargiri?
On a day-to-day basis, I personally am on a minimalist
No,
and no-waste journey.
that's fine.
And I think it's a very easy thing to do.
कौन
Many of
Scientist?
us are on this
अच्छे अरे बोले ना तुम
the same way.
Doctor?
And it is very simple to do. It just needs a change in your lifestyle, which is doable. And of course,
She's senior scientist, no?
resource.
Chief scientist.
We need to work on the
Chief scientist.
resources.
Sure.
What resources we can take
From
out
CSIR.
unsuch resource, big resources, our kitchen waste and our organic waste, which can easily turn into compost. I'm passionate about teaching compost.
আছে অন্য নামে আছে
As many of you know here, I visit colleges, schools, housing apartments.
Doctor, follow me, doctor.
Telling people how to reduce waste and how to compost. So if anyone is interested in having me over, or whatever, I'm available. And one way of reducing your waste, I've realized in the last few years, is to use alternatives to disposables. All of us are using a lot of disposables, right? Cutlery, plates, etc., disposable packets, a lot of disposable sanitary napkins, baby diapers, and we have beautiful alternatives. Earlier they were very expensive, but now things are changing. More and more people are coming into this commercially, this world. commercially, and they are making more products at a reasonable price. So switch to these things, and you will see the amount of waste that gets reduced from you. I think as Pauline mentioned, each of us must take responsibility of our world and take necessary action. Thank you so much, Vinay, for giving me this opportunity.
Thanks, Patadi. Harkirat ji, just before you jump off, maybe a couple of words from you. If you could unmute yourself, please.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to mention was that, we from the generation which has actually done all the pollution, we can't pass on everything to the students to do. We need to help, in whatever areas they get sort of stuck on. We need to, with our influence, help in getting that through by working with authorities and all to ensure that we can get it through. That's what is our responsibility. We tend to leave it to awareness and tell students and teachers and every principal to spread awareness, but we need to do our own bit. That was one. The other thing on waste, I just give an example. I have just out here a small 12 feet by 14 feet sort of a veranda sticking out. For 20 years, I have not got a single thing from outside. That is no soil, no agrochemicals. Everything is from the waste that we generate. I grow papayas, I grow bitter gourd, I grow ginger, I grow chilies. All in this little 12 by 14. Now, 20 years, no gram of soil has come from outside. Now, this is what I mean, that you can do sustainable things by using your own waste, like the lady before me talked about. And I think we need people like her to put in examples which can be shown to people. Like this one is now being followed in about at least 7 countries, because I've sent videos of this to them, and my own rainforest people in Costa Rica are doing it, and they keep sending me clips and all that. So basically, we need to do our own bit also, and I think I better jump off. Thank you very much. Great job you people are doing. I'm so proud of you and so proud of being in Calcutta. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We're very proud of our city and our state, and we have to join hands to make it better. I'd like to bring in Satyajit Da, talk about cycling and transport briefly. Satyajit Da, if you can hear me, if you could unmute yourself. Satyajit Da is the mayor of cycling in Kolkata. It's a great network started by a Dutch organization. Satyajit Da, if you could unmute yourself, please. I'll come back to you later. We just have 3 minutes left. I wish I could go on. And it's a very difficult job to moderate such a discussion when you have such great people doing such fantastic work. And আমার কাছে অত কম সময়ের মধ্যে এটা লঞ্চ হিসাবেই আমরা রেখেছিলাম. Each issue itself can take a entire 2-hour session. Even that would be less. I am probably going to talk about just a couple of questions that have been put in. Ki air monitors are too dummy, air quality gadgets are expensive. How can we afford them? There are some low-cost air quality monitors also available. Through the Bengal-CAN network, we are looking to procure some and set them up in various cities, which are going to be a citizen initiative. It can be installed in schools, colleges. We'll of course have limited numbers, but that is something we want to do. Other than that, there was a conversation, and it's my favorite, and I had to take it up myself. I'm not going to let anyone talk about it. Consumerism niye ekta proshno utheche ki consumerism is the main problem for pollution, and I think that's bang on. If we look at all the ills of today's society, whether it's social ills or environment ills, it is due to consumerism and our over. And I like to put it like this: we are digging out the earth and creating waste out of it. And it is so sad to see what it is, and it is completely in our hands. And that is why I also feel very empowered that all of us can make a change to this. There were a couple of people I wanted to bring in to the conversation. Dr. Paulomi Roy, if you can hear me, she's chief scientist at CSIR. and Satanjita from the cycling community. And of course, I'm happy to go on 5-10 minutes over. I want to open the floor for more comments, suggestions. Otherwise, we will be. I'm also happy to wrap up exactly at 1 o'clock as was promised. But if there's anyone with any final thoughts, comments, questions, I'm very happy to hear. And if Dr. Polami Roy and Satyajita, if you can hear me, one final reach out, call out to you. But thank you so much, everyone. If I'll keep talking in wrapping up, but if anyone wants to jump in, please interrupt me and unmute yourself and share something. But otherwise, I'll start to wrap up this discussion. It has been. Yes, please. I heard someone.
Vinay.
Yes, please.
So, hello, good afternoon. So, this is Polami Roy from CSR CMERI. So, if you allow me, so maybe I can share a few slides because we, in past few years, in Durgapur, so we are doing some air pollution related technology.
Please, ma'am.
And some work.
Certainly.
So, maybe,
sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Thank you so much.
And while the slide comes out, I just want to thank everyone who's been part of this, for all the work, for this, and also for all the great work, and for all, more importantly for me, for all the inspiration that all of you do. Thank you so much. And Dr. Polami Roy, whenever you're ready.
I just shared my slide. Is it visible?
No, ma'am. Not yet, ma'am. If you could try once again, please.
Okay.
But thank you. And going back to the ma'am, we're not able to see the slide still. If you could maybe without the slides, if you can just briefly share with us, and we can. Oh, yeah, we can see it now, ma'am. We can see it now. Right, ma'am. We can see the slide.
Yeah. Okay. So I think from the morning I was listening all the talks and that was really important.
Don't start leaving, guys.
So
We don't want.
We have been working in a couple of years related to this air pollution, and I think this is a great initiative taken by foundation to bring the clean air network forward. Actually. So I think maybe without any kind of introduction, because I think you are basically want to wrap it up. So maybe share some of the technologies which will be very much relevant for controlling air pollution in these days. Are we living in a healthy environment? So if we just see that what is the air pollution level in environment in West Bengal, that is really alarming. Because this data has been taken in the month of April. So that was already the lockdown situation was going on. So even that time, the air quality index was pretty high. And mostly in Asansol, Kolkata, it was showing really unhealthy situation. What about the Durgapur status? Because Durgapur is also known as an industrial city. So we often see or we often feel a very highly polluted air around us. So this was the air quality index yesterday. So we can see this is really not healthy situation even now. And we can see that the PM2.5 levels were also, quite alarming. It was not really in a healthy situation. We are not really in a healthy situation. So do we really need to worry? We just see the data, look into the data. So we see that in amongst like 1 lakh death in India. So that was the survey taken in 2017. So West Bengal is basically
pick up your quotes.
93 deaths.
We should
That is really,
finalize this in the next half an hour.
Is quite giving us
because we have to then send it to all the media people within two.
And of course, I think last few speakers already talked about a lot.
If you want to step out,
what are the measures? And of course, the motor vehicle emissions and waste burning. These things are mostly contributing in our air pollution. This is the very interesting thing I saw in 2 days back. That was sources Asian News International. So they are showing that the Delhi is already started again to gain the air pollution after lockdown. So here we can see that PM10 level was already, it got 137 microgram per meter. So it will definitely, winter is anyway coming, so it will definitely will rise. Now, coming to our recent development at CSIR CMCAN. See, like when we saw that the motor vehicle emission is basically contributing a lot along with the waste burning. So we thought that we have to do something by which maybe at least in traffic areas we can control our air pollution level. Thinking this, so we developed a number of outdoor air purifiers, but in this case, our approach is quite different because in China they have made a giant air purifier. But our thinking is that if we can make a smaller unit and which is capable enough to control air pollution, and if we can situate this or install it in a certain distance, so in that way a larger area we can basically target to clean area effectively. So here in last year we have developed outdoor air purifier which can clean air effectively within the range of 500 meters square. And the direction of flow here we have kept like 2 ways. So it can reduces it reduces air pollution by 20 to 70%. This is the reduction percentage. So it will anyway the range is very wide. That is because of the fact that the reduction rate will also depend upon the pollution level. If the pollution level is very high, mostly in winter season, this was done basically in the last winter. So if the pollution level is very high, then we will obviously we can reduce the air by a large percentage. That we have seen, we have monitored, and it can remove very effectively dust particles, PM2.5, PM10, VOCs, etc. Not only that, seeing this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic situation, we have also incorporated the air purifier cum air sanitizer by incorporating UVC light inside, so that we can also breathe in a proper way, or we can also get sanitized air. Now, we have been monitoring this performance of our air purifier for quite I think few months. So this red lines is basically the air quality at Durgapur. So you can really see that this PM2.5 level is exceeding 300 microgram per meter cube. That is really alarming because in Delhi, it is sometimes it is basically challenging Delhi's air pollution level because Delhi usually see the PM2.5 level in the range of 350 to 400 or even more. So with this air purifier, we can come down this air, the PM2.5 level, not only PM2.5 level, but also this PM10 level as well, very effectively. As I said in my last slide, that 20 to 70% reduction we can do. Not only that, we have extensively studied what kind of particles are basically we are removing. So here mostly we see that the carbon is the most 70% carbon is there, and the other anyway silica, because the dust particles are anyway there, so that's why silicon is there. So this is the elemental analysis we perform on the particles which we have removed from air. And this is another model. So this is a ready to attach model. So this kind of model, or not only this, but also this one. So we have designed it for to attach it with a street light or any kind of poles, and it can run by electricity or even solar power. Because we also have to plan to utilize renewable energy resources as much as possible, avoiding this coal-derived electricity.
Start preparing your emails
This
for
air purifier can very
emails
easily
for
run for 8 hours
press.
per day.
তুমি ওই সম্পূর্ণকে নিয়ে যারা যে
or
ইমেলিং
electricity.
করছো, ইমেলিং কোথায় থেকে করবে তুমি?
So
আমার ইমেল থেকে
basically
মনে হয়
our
হবে না,
main intention here on the
তুমি
station feature,
বেঙ্গল
you
ক্যান
can
ডট
see
সিচুয়ানের
that we
জিমেল
need
থেকে
to
করো। সম্পূর্ণ দিকে ওটা
install
খুলো,
multiple
সব
units,
তোমার
but
মেল
in
আইডিস
a
গুলো
very
সাজাও।
affordable cost. Cost is we have minimized the cost as much as
বেঙ্গল ক্যান ডট
possible.
ওটা ওখানে গিয়ে
And
তুমি
it
সেট
has
আপ
a
করো।
very low maintenance maintenance. It can go on like 3 months.
All of
maybe
you
after
can
3
break,
months, you need to
want to
change
have lunch, can
filters or something.
break
So
out.
filter cost is also
Don't
very
disconnect
less.
from the call.
And effectively it can
If 7 8
remove
people
the,
suddenly start disconnecting,
pollution level.
Ashwa
So that you can get
Shah
healthy.
crowd like that. Okay.
Now, I
Jay,
think the last
I'll
speaker
interrupt.
also, I think Dr. Rudra also mentioned about this
Huh?
water
Data.
filter that we have also
You guys can
tested
step out if you
actually.
want.
So, in order to see that whether this is good enough to
Not
control the
आप लोग तो
air
वो
pollution
बना रहे
level,
हो
we
minutes आप लोग नहीं
artificially created the level very high,
बना रहे हो कि
like
टाइम चिल कर रहे हो
999
बनाओ
microgram
बनाओ
per meter cube PM 2.5 level and PM 10 level, and then we sprayed the water, and then immediately within 40 seconds we have seen that the reduction can be up to 95% reduction can be done. So that is really, I think, very interesting to see this level of reduction of pollution level. But only maybe the disadvantage will be that we are being maybe waste a lot of water, which we should not. So that is only one disadvantage. Otherwise, I think this is very effective in controlling air pollution. Another very interesting, I think, experiment we have done. So that could be interesting for many students. I can see a lot of students are also there, and the other experts are also there. So here, we often see like during the fall season or during the winter season, the lot of the dry leaves fall down, and people usually collect them, and they just simply burn it out. And we see lot of in the roadside people are doing this kind of thing. Now, if we see that here basically we collected some dry leaves and we burned it out, and so we are comparing the pollution level with a cigarette. Anyway, in both the cases, the PM 2.5 and PM 10 level is extreme. But what is very worrying factor, that is the formaldehyde level. So here we can see that after a cigarette, with the burning cigarette is giving like 0.149 milligram per meter cube of formaldehyde, but whereas the dry leaves often, the open air burning, it is giving 10 times higher formaldehyde. So that is basically really alarming. So we, the non-smokers, maybe they think that we are living a healthy life, but they may not be, they may not know that we are basically exposed to the toxic environment. So we should be aware of all these things. Having said that, so recently we have developed another technology. So that is basically the leaf collector machine. One of our scientists, he has developed this leaf collector machine that was mounted with a tractor. It can effortlessly, it can go through the roads, and it can collect leaves, and it can shred the leaves in small pieces. After that, we can do some chemical treatment to get lot of different kind of value-added products. For example, silica we can extract, or this highly porous activated carbon also we can extract from this shredded leaves. These are some chemical analysis we have performed, and we see that this quality is quite high. Mostly in the market, this kind of quality activated carbon is highly, expensive in nature. But if we can really get from the shredded leaves, so with this, quality, so that can add a lot of value. So this activated carbon can be used in various applications. For example, like utilized in air purifying system as a filter, because we can very effectively absorb any kind of VOCs, volatile organic compounds, very effectively. Also, it can also purify water. Moreover, it can also be utilized as an electrode material for different kind of energy storage devices. So this way, all kind of applications we are performing at our lab in there. So basically, we can say that which is basically causing a lot of air pollution, we are turning it into the value-added product by which we can control the air pollution. So basically, we are turning the lemon into lemonade, we can say. Very interesting, another very big technology we have developed at our CSL lab. So that is solid waste management, because we see that there is a lack of technology solid waste management. So with this, we actually collect all the solid waste which is generated in our colony, and then we do the mechanized segregation, and then we can separate polymers, organic or bioorganic things, metals, these things separate, and then we can convert these polymers into gas or from which we can get electricity, or we can also get biogas from which the organic and not only that, the inert part, so we can convert them for making or bricks making. Yeah, so this is the total waste we collect, around 152 kg, from which we can get this kind of valuable things. Of course, like we should always believe that if we want to make our
we can also circulate the presentation amongst all the people present. If you could maybe look at wrapping this up at the earliest, please.
Yes, this is my last slide.
Sure, sure.
I'm almost done. So what I was saying, that this renewable energy resources will be anyway very much helpful. And recently, the world's largest solar tree we have developed at CSR CMERI, which can generate above 11.5 kilowatt hour. So this is a huge success for us, and I must acknowledge our director, Professor Harish Gani, for his all the guidance, so that we can come up with this technology, and also the all involved scientists and students who actually did their dedicated and effortless, contribution to come out with this technology. So finally, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, so that I could share my some technologies which we have developed recently. And if you need any kind of technical clarifications or interest, maybe you can also contact our business development group, Dr. Anjali Chatterjee, who is the head of business development group. Yeah, with this, I wrap up my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very informative. I'll not take anyone's, I won't take more time. Thank you so much. I just want to thank everyone for joining, and I'm really looking forward to work with each one of you, whether it's a student of a school, to NGO leaders or heads, to government administration. We all need to come together for clean air. This is a basic right for all of us. We have to make, so really looking forward to this. Thank you so much once again. And if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, please write it down. I'm putting down my email address in the message section. If you want to reach out to me later, please feel free to. And as the Clean Air Network begins to grow, we will need all of your support. সবার support লাগবে এটা করার জন্য. Before I wrap up, any যদি কার কোনো last comment thought থাকে, please feel free to share, or otherwise I am closing this very, very enriching discussion যেটা সবাই আপনারা এসে join করে. It's only been possible because of that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Several parts. মেসেজ কেউ সবাই ছাড়বে না, মেসেজগুলো সব কপি করো প্লিজ। হয়ে গেছে, মেসেজগুলো সব হয়ে গেছে তো? এখানে আমাদের টিমকে বলে দাও এবার ছেড়ে দিতে। তোমরা ছেড়ে দাও, সবাই ছেড়ে দাও। হ্যাঁ, কি করবে? নিজের মধ্যে কথা বলবে? সবাইকে বলো, ওই ঘরেও গিয়ে বলে দাও। ও পিয়ালা তো দৌড়ে যাবে, মানে ক্যারি হয়ে রেখেছে।
চোখ ব্যথা করছে, এদিকে দিকে মুড়ি ব্যথা করছে। লাইটটা অফ করতে হবে।
এক সেকেন্ড। আরে দিদি थोड़ा तो रुक जाते हैं यार। अभिषेक दा कोई बात चेक करा लो। ये दोनों लैपटॉप वहां ले जाओ। डोंट आस्क मी टू कम हियर। ওটা নিয়ে যাও। তাড়াতাড়ি নিয়ে যাও।
কাকে দেখাবো এটা? অভিষেক অভিষেক দা এটা অফ করে দাও, ফেসবুক লাইভটা অফ করে দাও।